Have you ever shared something personal with your family, only to feel judged, misunderstood, or even worse, regretful? It happens more often than we'd like to admit. As we get older, we start to realize that not every thought, feeling, or decision needs to be shared with everyone. And that's not about being secretive. It's about protecting your peace. You've spent decades building your life, raising your kids, and maybe even caring for grandkids. But now this chapter is about you, and part of truly enjoying this phase means knowing when to hold back certain things, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. That's exactly what we're talking about today. There are 5 things you should never share with your family after 65 if you want to maintain a peaceful, drama-free life. Some of these might surprise you, but once you start practicing them, you'll feel lighter, freer, and more in control of your happiness. Let's start with the first one. One of the biggest mistakes people make as they age is oversharing about their finances. Now, this doesn't mean you have to keep everything a mystery, but being too open about your money can sometimes create unnecessary stress, tension, or even resentment within your family. Think about it. Have you ever casually mentioned a financial decision, like helping a friend or donating to a cause, only to be met with unsolicited advice or judgment? Maybe someone in your family started questioning your choices, or worse, expecting financial help from you. It happens more often than people realize. As we age, we become a little more vulnerable, whether that's physically, emotionally, or financially. And unfortunately, not everyone sees that as something to protect. Sometimes it's an opportunity for manipulation. A family member may not mean any harm, but if they know too much about your finances, they might start making assumptions. They may feel entitled to your money or pressure you into decisions that don't align with what you truly want. The best way to avoid this? Keep your financial matters private. If you need to discuss something important, speak to a trusted financial advisor rather than sharing every detail with family. Having firm boundaries doesn't make you selfish, it makes you smart. Now let's talk about the second thing you should never share. And this one is a big one: your deepest regrets. By the time we reach our 60s and beyond, we all have regrets. Maybe we wish we had spent more time with loved ones, taken better care of our health, or pursued dreams we put on hold. It's natural. But dwelling on those regrets and sharing them with family can sometimes do more harm than good. Here's why. Younger family members, like your kids or grandkids, may feel unnecessary guilt over things that were never their fault. If you express regret about how you raised your children or past decisions in your marriage, it might make your loved ones feel responsible for something they had no control over, and that can create tension, confusion, or even resentment. On the other hand, some family members might dismiss your regrets altogether, saying, "Oh, don't worry about it," or "It's in the past," without really understanding how deeply you feel. And that can be frustrating because sometimes you just want to be heard. Instead of sharing regrets that can't be changed, focus on the present. If there's something you wish you had done differently, ask yourself, is there something I can do about it now? Maybe you regret not traveling more, so why not plan a small trip, even if it's just a weekend getaway? Maybe you regret not expressing love enough, so start today. Holding on to regrets is like carrying a heavy bag everywhere you go. Letting them go doesn't mean they never existed. It just means they don't have to weigh you down anymore. Now that we've covered the first 2 things you should never share, let's move on to another important one. Now let's talk about something that often causes unnecessary conflict: your true opinions about certain family members. We all have thoughts and feelings about the people in our lives. Maybe there's a relative who's always been difficult, a grandchild making choices you don't agree with, or a sibling who never quite treated you right. And as we get older, we sometimes feel the urge to speak our minds more freely. After all, we've earned the right to say what we think, haven't we? But here's the problem. Honesty isn't always the best policy when it comes to family dynamics. Sharing negative opinions about a family member, especially with others in the family, can lead to resentment, broken relationships, and stress you don't need in this stage of life. Think about a time when you vented to one family member about another. Maybe you meant no harm. You were just expressing frustration. But before you knew it, word got around, feelings were hurt, and suddenly you were caught in a situation you never intended. Family members take things personally, And even if you were speaking the truth, it doesn't always help. The best way to handle this? Keep your deeper opinions to yourself, especially when it comes to family drama. If you don't agree with a grandchild's lifestyle choices, a nephew's financial decisions, or a sibling's behavior, ask yourself, will sharing my thoughts improve anything? If the answer is no, then silence is often the wiser choice. That doesn't mean you have to fake approval or pretend everything is perfect. It just means choosing peace over unnecessary conflict. If a situation truly requires your input, frame it in a way that doesn't sound like judgment. Instead of saying, "I don't think you should be doing that," try something like, "I trust that you'll make the right decision for yourself." It shifts the conversation from criticism to respect, and that goes a long way in maintaining family harmony. Now, moving on to something that can feel a little tricky, your detailed health concerns. Of course, your family cares about you, and they should know about any major health conditions that impact your well-being. But constantly sharing every new ache, pain, or symptom can create a dynamic where your family starts to worry more than they need to. Or worse, they begin treating you differently. Have you ever noticed how some older adults get labeled as always complaining about their health? It's not that their issues aren't real, it's just that when health becomes the main topic of conversation, it can start to define how others see them. And that's not what you want. Think about it. If every time you talk to your children or grandchildren, you're discussing doctor visits, medications, or how you're feeling that day, the focus shifts away from who you are and onto what's wrong. It can also make your family feel helpless, like they should be doing more to fix something they simply can't control. That doesn't mean you have to suffer in silence. It's important to seek medical advice, take care of yourself, and share necessary information with those who need to know. But there's a difference between updating your family when it's important and making every conversation about your health. Instead, try shifting the focus. When someone asks how you're doing, rather than listing off every symptom, you can say, "I'm managing, but tell me about you. How's work? How are the grandkids?" By doing this, you keep the conversation balanced and remind your loved ones that there's more to you than just your health. And here's something to remember. Positivity has a real impact on well-being. The less we dwell on our ailments, the more we allow ourselves to enjoy life in the moment. Now that we've covered this, let's move on to another important topic. Now, this last one might surprise you, but it's one of the most important: your future fears. Fear is natural as we get older. We think about what's ahead, our health, our independence, what will happen to our loved ones when we're gone. It's a part of life, and it's completely normal to have these thoughts. But here's why you shouldn't share them too much with your family. It can place an unnecessary burden on them. If you constantly express worries about getting older, about what might happen if you can't take care of yourself, or about how much time you have left, your family will feel a pressure they might not be emotionally prepared for. It's not that they don't care, of course they do, but no child, no matter how old they are, wants to hear their parent constantly worrying about the future. No grandchild wants to see their grandparent fearful about what's ahead. Think about it this way. When you were younger, did you ever see your own parents or grandparents as fragile? Probably not. You likely saw them as strong, steady, a source of wisdom and comfort. That's how your family sees you. If you start voicing every fear about aging, it shifts that perspective. Instead of being the guiding light in their lives, you become someone they feel they have to protect, and that can change your entire dynamic. Now, that doesn't mean you have to suppress every concern. If you have serious worries about your future care, financial security, or estate planning, those are things to discuss privately with a trusted advisor or in a structured conversation with your family when necessary. But making fear a regular topic, that only feeds the anxiety, both for you and for them. Instead, try to focus on the present. Enjoy the time you have now. When the future comes, you'll handle it, just like you've handled everything else in life. Because the truth is, most of the things we worry about never happen the way we imagine. And even when challenges do arise, we are often stronger than we think. So as we wrap up, let's go back to the most important idea of all: protecting your peace. You've spent a lifetime taking care of others, being the strong one, making sacrifices. Now, this stage of life is about you. It's about choosing happiness, setting boundaries, and recognizing that not everything needs to be shared. By keeping your financial matters private, you avoid unnecessary stress. By letting go of regrets, you free yourself from the past. By keeping certain opinions to yourself, you preserve family harmony. By balancing discussions about your health, you stay in control of how you're perceived. And by managing your fears internally, rather than voicing them constantly, you create a more peaceful existence for yourself and those around you. Remember, wisdom isn't just about what you know, it's about what you choose to share. If you found this helpful, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more insights on living a fulfilling life at any age. Here's to your peace, your happiness, and the life you truly deserve.